So I'm Vanessa. I'm the founder of Keto Buddies, and I am approaching my 2-year mark for my journey, and I have lost a substantial amount of weight. My advice is to ditch the scale and go by measurements and your clothing sizes and things like that. So I try not to focus too much on the scale. And from when I started weighing is, after I had already lost a fair amount before I wanted to do that. So, but it's more about how you're feeling, how you're looking, and what you're after. So that's what we're really here to do. What is keto versus low carb and the differences. So a keto approach is mainly 20 grams of carbs, and there's some people that say that's total carbs, or some people that say that's net carbs. A low carb would be more of a 20 to 50 to 100 grams, depending on how you follow that. A strict keto is 20 grams or less. And what is happening when we're talking about that, there is a difference between low carb and keto. When you're keto, you're switching your fuel source. So at the moment, most people will be glucose burners. You are living on sugar and carbs, and that is your fuel source. And it's your fuel source not because it's your body's preferred fuel source, but because it gets rid of it first, because it actually does know that it's not the best fuel source, so it gets rid of it. It always sees it as a danger, and it tries to get rid of it. Where we run into problems after a certain age, or if we have poor metabolic structure initially, we get insulin resistance, and therefore our body never releases the insulin and the fat. It just keeps producing, the cells keep filling up. So that's where it comes into the fact, if you keep doing what you were doing in your 20s and 30s and it's still not working, but it worked then, for example, Weight Watchers and things like that, then that means that you have insulin resistance. So being able to take your body from a glucose burner into a fat burner, producing ketones, is where you will get rid of that insulin resistance and see the ability to lose weight. So basically in keto, we are becoming fat burners. In low carb, I do feel strongly that there's a difference. So you can be low carb, but not in ketosis. And that is an important part. So there's a lot of people, obviously being low carb is an improvement on being a glucose burner and consuming sugar and packaged foods. However, you miss out on a lot of benefits of being in ketosis. So with ketosis, you'll hear people talk about mental clarity. You'll hear them talk about like this energy and that you're really never hungry and everything like that. When you're in low carb, you don't necessarily get that mental clarity. You certainly probably eat more because you are eating more carbs, so the carbs create the cravings, and carbs turn to sugar in your body. So sugar and carbs in my world are interchangeable of how your body reacts to them. Sugar turns to carbs, carbs turn to sugar. You can think of it the same way. It all becomes the glucose fuel burning. Does our body need carbs? Well, the very short answer is no, you don't. You don't need any carbs. That's how there's people out there existing and being healthy and have the best blood tests, etc. And they are actually carnivore, so they're eating strictly meat. Now, you don't have to obviously do that, but our body produces its own amount of carbs, which it needs a little bit for some eye function and a little bit for some of the brain function. But it actually can produce that all on its own. So if you did choose a carnivore lifestyle, your body still functions, so your eyesight still functions and your brain still functions. So therefore, no, you don't need any carbs to exist. On keto and low carb, the way I teach is that you have a healthy keto plate, and we do consume vegetables for that, lots of green leafy vegetables, and some above ground cauliflower, broccoli, asparagus type vegetables, and you are getting carbs from that. So you don't need to worry about can you exist on not having carbs, or do you have enough carbs? You definitely will, no problem. Either you're keto, carnivore, or low carb, your body is going to function. Somebody else asked me what my number one tip was. And my number one tip you'll probably think is a bit odd, but The ladies who are in my 90-day program know this, and then when she gets started, they actually go, oh, I get it. But don't tell people you're keto is my tip to you. When you're first starting out, you have enough going on, you have enough change, and you don't know enough of the science, that I think often you don't need some negative influences of people saying, oh, you can't survive without carb, or oh my God, you can't do that. Your body needs sugar and your body needs this. You know, first of all, it's old science and it's rubbish and they don't know what they're talking about. And you just don't need that, because, you know, I've been studying this now for a couple of years, and unless you're a really sciencey person and you like to spew that science back up to people, it's you know, it can derail you, it can put doubt in your head and things like that. So initially, go about your business. You know, if somebody asks what you're doing or they're noticing something a bit different, then you can just say, oh, I've cut the sugar, I'm reducing my carbs. That's more acceptable out there in the marketplace kind of thing. There's lots of people that are gluten-free, so people hear that. You can say, oh, I've had a bit of a upset gut, I'm just working on that. Those kind of things will send people along their way without paying too much more attention to you, which is a good strategy initially. And then let your results speak for themselves. Once you start looking really good, your skin's looking really good, you know, your aches and pains are gone, skin tanks are dropping off, you know, all sorts of things start happening, and then the weight loss stuff starts happening, then you're going to get people who come up and say, oh, what are you doing? And again, my first reply to people is, oh, I cut the sugar and I reduced my carbs, and I leave it at that. Because once you throw the word keto into it, people go, oh my God, you're eating fat, you're going to kill yourself, you're going to have a heart attack and all this stuff. Again, not true at all. So until you know all that science and are confident in it, then I think you're better just to say that you are going about your business and let your results speak for yourself. If somebody comes up and asks twice, so this is a real pattern that happens. The first time someone asks me, they're just like, oh, what are you doing? And I just say that statement. If they really need your help, they will ask again. And then you can go in a quiet place where you feel safe, basically, and say, look, if you want to know a bit more, I'm happy to have a chat with you. But what I'm doing is introducing more healthy fats, cutting back on my carbs and the sugar, and gently bring up the word ketosis, because there's a lot of fear. There's another word that's similar that people don't understand. And, you know, you just do you, basically. And if someone needs your help and they really need your help, then they'll ask for it. So that's my advice on that. Why is keto good? So keto gives you a head start, I believe, on working on your habit change and your belief systems. Any diet unto itself, if you don't address your root causes of where we got to how we got to, is going to ultimately fail. So with keto, physiologically, it can help shut down some of those cravings when you get your balance of your good fat right, and you're reducing the carbs. So you don't think about food all the time. Some people, you know, go to one meal a day. Fasting becomes really easy. Your body is using its own fat as its fuel source. So life just really changes. So that is something that allows you to then work on your mindset and changing habits and changing your belief systems and working on the vision of yourself. So that's what we do a lot in the 90-day program. And keto gives you a leg up on that, because if you're always having to rely on willpower, like with most other diets, you know, where they're focusing on a calorie restriction and you're always craving and you're thinking you can't have something, then life becomes a lot harder and it's really easy to fall back into old habits. Okay, so I believe that keto gives you the opportunity to work on your root causes or additional root causes. And that's a little bit about that. What do they need in addition to food? Because obviously I said you don't need shakes and pills and things like that. So the only things that I recommend are Himalayan pink salt, bone broth, apple cider vinegar, and magnesium. Hopefully I answered what was on most people who are starting out's mind. I appreciate everybody watching. Take care. Bye night.